I think what Richard Sherman is, I don't want to talk about crossing lines because I don't mind if someone I cover tries to push back.
Well, that was a threat.
Yeah, I'm going to ruin your career. Does he really have the power to ruin my career? No, it's just a threat. It's a meaningless threat. I don't mind.
But a high-level, outspoken, well-respected, intelligent guy, when you go to do your job, he tells you, I'm going to make your job more difficult. I think that's serious.
Well, I think Richard Sherman is inauthentic. I just say that. I think he's trying to be the Charles Barkley of football. Charles Barkley crossed the line, if we're going to talk about when he was a player.
It was who he was.
But it was who he was, and it wasn't every week. Every week, Richard Sherman's doing something. Every week, he's in the news for his press conferences, not for his performance. Again, it comes off as the inauthentic Charles Barkley. Me as a media person, if someone says, I had people try to ruin my careers. Carl Peterson did it. I never whined and cried about it. I fought back and pushed back with my column and with my platform. So, I don't really...
We do have in America, like, again, I've been yelled at, screamed at, I've had a couple death threats. I mean, we all have in this business. But there is a legal precedent. You can't threaten people. And in this society where bullying is now front and center, this is a bad, bad look for Richard Sherman. He not only looks inauthentic, he looks immature, and he looks desperate.
Another thing, there's 48 people that eventually going to be voting on something like this. Now, I thought I had a very good relationship with the media, but it seemed to find out when I came up on the ballot that there were some people in the room had a problem with me. That's what kept me out of the Hall of Fame for 5 years. Yeah. Now, I know Richard Sherman. I know he wants to be considered one of the best that's ever played, and he will be a Hall of Famer. But, man, don't have stuff like this alter your career, because he's going to be part of the media in a few years.
It's really about mental toughness here, because really they're trying, sometimes their job is to entice you. They do it all the time. They're trying to push you to see if you'll crack it. If you'll crack, they got you. And I think really Richard Sherman needs to be quiet. I think he's put himself in the Cousins category of the Sacramento Kings here with his behavior lately. I mean, these two guys are competing for the same headline, and it's really kind of wrong. Richard Sherman's too good of a football player. Just keep your mouth shut, show mental toughness, and walk away. Nobody really cares what's going to happen. Just keep quiet.
Let me just throw this out there. Not sure it's right, but I'll throw it out there. Pete's always been a player empowerer. Okay, Belichick's not. You don't see Belichick's players doing that. You don't see Saban players doing that. Pete's thing is I empower the players. I mean, my wife doesn't love football or watch it much. She's watching that Thursday game against the Rams, and she says to me, do they ever not celebrate? Now you got Richard Sherman. I mean, no, but I mean, seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
He creates
it's a culture.
It's a loose culture that at USC got the NCAA to put them on probation. Is Pete's loose culture now
starting to bite him in the rear.
Starting to bite him a little bit in the rear.
And a lot of that was produced by Marshawn Lynch and how he allowed Marshawn Lynch to abuse the privileges and abuse the PR director in Seattle for a long period of time, which blew up at the Super Bowl where I'm just here so I won't get fined.
There's no accident how it behavior in New England. I mean, they're educated on the media. I mean, look, if this were to happen, there would have been at 8 o'clock in the morning, the next meeting, those things would have been talked about. This is not how we behave, and this isn't good for the league, and this isn't good for anybody. And what you just said there, Cris, is so true, because the Hall of Fame is an institution that you want to get into, and it shouldn't become a political institution based on who likes who and who doesn't like that.
I totally agree. I wanted to defend Cris, and this became an issue with Warren Sapp, whether people like Warren Sapp or not. He got in on first ballot, but I thought all of that should have never been in the discussion.
But it shouldn't, but it always is.
Because we're dealing with human beings, no question about it. I just think Richard Sherman, to me, for this tough guy, he's from Compton, he's a football player, he's a defensive player, Legion of Boom, he is really thin-skinned. He's blocked everybody I can damn near think of over Twitter, who, again,
But he's behaving like he's on Twitter. This reaction is a behavior like Twitter. He's become Twitter influenced. That's what he's doing.
And I think this is part of Pete's thing. I mean, I do. I love Pete, but at the end of the end of USC, they were loose. Penalties, NCAA, special teams coach they couldn't have had. I think over time, Pete sort of, his thing can unfold a little.